Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley. Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast once again. This is episode 116, entitled How to Secure Your WordPress Site with Oliver Sild from WebARX. It was published on the 21st of February 2019. My name's Nathan Wrigley from pictureandword.co.uk, a small web development agency based in the north of England. And I won't be joined later by David Wormsley because today is an interview, as I've said, with Oliver Sild. We're talking about internet security and so on and so forth. But we'll get to that a little bit later. I've got a few things to request of you first, if that's okay. Most of them are going to URLs on the WPBuilds.com website. For example, if you go to WPBuilds.com, you'll find a whole bunch of menu items at the top of the page. The first one that I'm going to draw your attention to is the subscribe link. And on there, you can join our newsletter by filling in the form. Please come and join our Facebook group if you haven't done so already. There's been some fabulous conversations going on over the past week. People helping each other out with all things WordPress. Also, I would very much encourage you to go and join our YouTube channel. If you go to wpbuilds.com/YouTube, then you'll be able to find everything that we do. So that's a whole bunch of stuff not related to the podcast. We do little demos and contribute episodes and so on. It's all there on the YouTube channel in an easy to consume format. Okay, the other thing that you can do is join our Slack channel and sign up on Messenger and so on, just to be alerted about the podcast on a Thursday and the news on a Monday that we put out. Okay, the next one is the deals page. If you go to wpbuilds.com/deals, we've added a few new ones over the last couple of weeks. So I'll briefly mention we've got Project Huddle, Wallace Inline, Groundhog, If So, WP Ultimo, Beaver Team Pro, Main WP, Block Party, Block Vault, Malcare, Toolset, WP Security Audit Log and Widget Options, all with significant amounts off. And as I say, we keep adding to those. And if you're a developer and you've got a plugin and you'd like us to add it on there, feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to put it on for you. Okay, the next one is wpbuilds.com/webinars. We've got 3 webinars coming up. You've probably missed the one with Oliver Sild because it's actually the day that this podcast was put out. But nevertheless, we've got one with Chris Badgett from Lifter LMS coming up, telling us all about Lifter as a learning management system to help you create your course content with WordPress. And we've also got Adrian Toby from Groundhog, a CRM and marketing tool, which helps you do your CRM and marketing with WordPress as well. So that's good stuff. Come and join us and find out from the creators how all of this works. Speaking of creating stuff, wpbuilds.com/contribute. Come on, join me. I'll share my screen with you. You share your screen with me and tell us all about something that you've done. Most recently, we've had Bradley Kirby on telling us about the Beaver Builder plugin that he's built called Wallace Inline. He's updated it to version 2.0, so we chat through what that looks like and what amendments he's made. Tom Carlos talking about his new split testing AB plugin, which I think is in beta stage now, and various other ones. We've got 9 episodes up there. They're very short. They're only about 15 minutes or so. But if you've got something you would like to tell us about, show the community, I'm sure we'd be more than happy to have you on. And the last one is wpbuilds.com/advertise. Most appreciative of our advertisers. And if you, as I say, have a product, come and join us. Come and be on the WP Builds podcast and get more notoriety for your product and hopefully gather some more sales. The WP Builds podcast is brought to you today by Project Huddle. Are you still using email for client feedback? Well, there's a better way. With Project Huddle, client feedback has never been easier. Point, click and type interactive comments right on top of any website. For 20% off, visit projecthuddle.io/WPBuilds. And the Page Builder Framework. Do you use a page builder to create your websites? Well, the Page Builder Framework is a mobile, responsive and lightning-fast WordPress theme that works with Beaver Builder, Elementor, Breezy and other page builders. With its endless customization options in the WordPress customizer, it's the perfect fit for you or your agency. Go to wp-pagebuilderframework.com today. And WP Ultimo. Could you imagine having your own profitable network of WordPress websites that can be 100% set up and configured by your clients? Make it a reality with WP Ultimo. Payments, plans, limits, templates, customization, it's all taken care of. Just download the plugin, configure the options, and you're ready to go. Visit wpultimo.com today and find out more. And we honestly, sincerely, truly thank our sponsors of the WP Builds podcast. Okay then, let's get to the main event. Today we're talking to Oliver Sild from WebARX. WebARX is a platform which allows you to manage the security settings for your WordPress website. It actually works with all sorts of other things that are not WordPress, but in this case we're talking about the WordPress integration and the plugin. Obviously, you want to keep your clients' websites secure, and it's nice that they've built a platform that enables you to do that and have everything in one central dashboard. Just before we begin, Oliver has very kindly offered the WP Builds audience 50% off from the first year of any plan. You will redeem that by going to their website and using the coupon code WPBuilds, all capital letters, no spaces. And it's a very generous offer. Get yourself 50% off the first year. Okay, I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hello there. Thank you for joining us once again on the WP Builds podcast. Today we've got an episode which is kind of like tinfoil hat kind of territory to propel ahead. I guess we'll at some point get into the technicalities of things. So a nice one for those of you that like their internet security, because that's what this is about. And all the way from Tallinn in Estonia, we have Oliver Sild. Hi there, Oliver.
Hey there.
Oliver is on the podcast today because he is in charge of a company which I suspect by now you may well have heard of, probably if you went back a year or so ago, maybe not the case. It's a WordPress plus anything PHP security platform, and it's called WebARX. That is spelled WEBARX, and you can find it at webarxsecurity.com. No spaces, no hyphens, nothing like that. So, Oliver, just some very basic questions to get us started, if that's all right with you. Would you mind telling the audience, for those of us that don't really know a great deal about internet security, what are the problems that we're frequently encountering on the internet? Why is internet website security something that we should be freaking out about and worrying about?
Yeah, so I think it's all coming from, personal hygiene, online kind of. So in many cases, people kind of tend to forgot the same things as, we had in previous years with even, personal computers. So, you don't kind of want to update the stuff, and, you don't have time to maybe, make sure that your passwords are kind of on the right length, and you tend to try to remember everything as quickly as possible. So you do kind of things that write very personal or important information on a post-its, and all these kind of small things that actually eventually makes up the whole issue. In terms of websites in general, well, nowadays we have kind of reached into a point where every company that is, I could say that basically every company that is going to be founded will have a website. And It doesn't matter if the founders are technical or not, they're still going to have the website. And, building websites have never been easier as it is right now. And, functionalities and all this, what you want to offer to your visitors on your website, you always don't want to kind of build everything from yourself. So other people have created it for you. So, components, plugins, extensions, however you call it, on different content management systems like WordPress, these are all developed by third parties, and you often don't have an idea what is actually built inside of that. And it's kind of the same issue with computers. You have to keep everything updated unless you're going to have a bad time.
With the with the sort of history of hacking and internet-related problems, if you turn the clock back several, maybe a decade or so, I think the worst you could expect was probably somebody would hack your site in inverted commas, and they might deface it. In other words, they might post something that demonstrated how clever they were on that website, and they might take it over and say hacked by such and such a person. Maybe they would just take the site down. Simple as that. It might be that you were a competitor and it might be hacked and your site disappears off the internet. Is that still the case? I don't think it is, but is this the primary purpose of hackers these days, or do they have financial reward as one of their goals nowadays? What are the points? Why do people try to take down our beautiful, lovingly created websites?
Yeah, like one thing is that, of course, like these defacements and, DDoS attacks and all that is, called like an hacktivism kind of thing. It's always kind of related to some political views or religious views or something that people want to express, So in these terms, we still see a lot of defacements going on. This is usually what the hackers who are, just got into it kind of do because they want to brag to other hackers that they can do it.
Yes.
This is what we still see a lot, but it's not that, usually this is the easiest thing you can kind of remediate and the easiest way you can kind of detect it. But then again, over the time, what a website is kind of a public view of a server. Or what is a server? Server is a computer. It's all resources. So kind of if you have like those billions of websites online, you can at one point start to think about like how can I get access to these resources that are there publicly available, even though they should be protected and be accessible only for the owners. But nowadays, with so many vulnerabilities going around with component security and with web application security in general, criminals have found ways to kind of monetize it in a very good ways. One way is, for example, SEO injections. So they could, infect your site with some bunch of keywords and things that, for example, only search engine will see. For example, we have seen very good cloaking methods where a website is, when you go and look at your website, everything is fine. There's this content that only you can see. And then if you Google your site on Google, you can see a lot of, funny things like, Viagra commercials and, all these different things. So this is all, kind of redirecting your traffic, which was your resource, to some third party or like ill-intentioned hackers kind of place where he eventually expects to make money. Now, what is very latest thing is, crypto mining. So this is a pretty nasty one. Like there's multiple issues with crypto mining. One thing is that your site might be infected with crypto mining itself. So it means that like a rogue JavaScript is injected to your site. So all your visitors are going to, mine like Monero or some other cryptocurrency for the hacker. The other thing, and this is usually like very well hidden, and they're trying to hide these things because they don't want you to kind of remove it. And there's the other thing that kind of with crypto jacking or is that advertisements. There's been a lot of issues that ads are going like we have dynamic ads, so you can kind of make JavaScript based ads and all these things. So you kind of, nobody actually hacked your website, let's say, but you are kind of running ads which are coming from an ad network, and this is loading this JavaScript miner on your website. So this is kind of also an issue nowadays. It's not so big problem anymore, but I would say when all this CoinHive and all these things started, then this was a real problem.
Yeah.
And additionally, of course, these are all like these kind of smaller things, but when we look at like a very big level, then WordPress site, there's so many WordPress sites, there's so many websites which are linked to servers. So eventually what we see a lot happening also is that the huge botnets are trying to kind of get access to WordPress sites and hack them and get the access, and then they just sit there, don't do anything. They're not kind of sending your traffic away, but they just sit there and wait for commands. And this is, I would say, like the most dangerous part, because
indeed,
big attacks like against governments, or even like some infrastructures like healthcare and so forth, these infected zombie-like WordPress sites that are kind of added into a botnet can be used to conduct like a ransomware attack and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's really up to everyone to kind of keep the internet more secure, keep their own resources, and understand that nowadays there's not really the thing that I'm running a small bakery, why would anyone hack my website?
That's a really good point, isn't it? The idea that most crime is kind of, there's a lot, well, certainly the crime that most of us would be associated with is it's personal. You might have something stolen from you or something, and you can sort of determine why that's happened. Oh, he wanted the phone, she wanted the wallet, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that argument then often carries over, I think, to people who own websites. Well, why would they want to, why would anybody want to hack my website? I sell socks on the internet. Why? Of course, the reality is it's got nothing to do with you. It's simply got to do with the fact that you are in possession of a paid-for resource. You have bought time on a computer. And because you've bought that time and that computer is on the internet and is able to do things that a computer can do, like command and control zombie botnets, and like being able to push traffic to somebody else's websites, you're a target whether you like it or not. And with WordPress having sort of pushing 35% of all websites, it is a massive, it's got a great big target painted all over its back. That is not to say that the software that builds WordPress is poorly written, because it isn't, but it is widely used, and that's, I suppose, the difference. So just talking about you for a minute, you're obviously, you've got this company WebARX, and this is what you do now for a living. But I think it's always interesting to see why somebody has authority in a particular area. And, so my next question is really, how did you get into web security? What's your technical background in founding this company?
So I was actually very security kind of, I've been an enthusiast for as long as I ever can remember, basically already from primary school. I remember running like a private servers for some video games and kind of, learning how to keep them secure, because it was kind of, Wild West back then, when there's, gaming private servers. So people kind of fight it over the players and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up, keeping my own server secure so I won't get DDoSed and, all this kind of stuff. And I can say I was like 14 or 15 years old back then. So from there on, I kind of went to learn IT and networking in general. And over the studies, I kind of got introduced into like a military unit for cybersecurity in here in Estonia. So I was, voluntarily putting my time into, trying to make good out of it. So to make good out of my skills, basically. So and then after school, I just started to build my own web agency. So this is probably everyone who is kind of having like a technical background, or who is like somehow into IT or something, and they are going to go into entrepreneurial, way. Like most of them are going to start a digital agency, I would say, or something like related to, building websites. So this was happening to me as well. So we were running a digital agency, building around 60 projects per year. We try to focus also on like kind of on a security as well, and building like a secure web development, or do that kind of thing. So what additionally we did is we scraped information online to see if there was websites that were hacked and the owner might have not known about it. So we kind of reported to those website owners that, hey, you have issues, why not, we can help you, and so forth. Which don't really work very well, because website owners don't understand still why they have been hacked, or why they are being targeted. Especially, it sounds very fishy if you go there.
It does, doesn't it?
Before them,
it sounds like you've perpetrated it, and then just
exactly. And I'm pretty sure someone has done it as well, like legit business for some ill-intentioned guys. So. And at one point, as I said, we were doing like 60 projects per year, And we kind of started with the same issue. How we make sure that the projects that we have built are, working well, are up, running, and they're not vulnerable. Because, not all your customers are understanding the need for kind of maintenance services and for security in general. And whether or not you try to, explain them very well, they would just say that, yeah, I don't have money, I don't want that. But eventually, if something happens, they still come back to you, showing fingers.
Yes.
So, yeah, for us, it was like, let's just, make ourselves a dashboard where we can just, make some regular scans about our previous customers' websites, understand if they're, properly staying up, if there's any errors, if there's any issues after updates, if there's, what kind of software versions are running there, if there's any plugin versions that are connected to any vulnerabilities and so forth. And yeah, at one point we understand that, hey, wait, it's not just our problem. There's so many digital agencies out there who are, having the same issue. We have even, met with agencies who are now our customers who kept their client list in Excel. So, it's not very practical way of understanding, because the information is dynamic. So, you don't know if there's vulnerability on this specific plugin now, if it wasn't like two months ago, because all these things are changing so rapidly. So yeah, in the end of 2015, we just went to one competition with our big idea, and in 2016, in the second half of 2016, we actually started to mind map it and start building the whole engine behind that, and kind of also ended up to work as an agency and completely switched over to build the web application security platform for digital agencies.
Okay, so fast forward to today. You've said goodbye, waved goodbye to your agency. This is now full-time job for you and how many other people?
So yeah, we're running right now 5 people, and we are already in US, in Croatia, like our team members, and we basically plan to hire more people now. But we are really up to automating things, and we kind of try to be as efficient as possible, so we don't have to grow in team, but rather grow in a good technology and a good efficiency. So. So we plan to actually grow a bit this year.
Okay.
But we are a relatively small team.
Well, doesn't mean that you're not fighting fit, though, does it? So the next question I've got is, I think a lot of people listening to this podcast will be familiar with some, let's say, famous WordPress plugins that, you download the plugin, perhaps you pay for a pro version or something like that, and you install it on your website. Now, time for confession here. I've never used WebARX, so all of these questions that I'm now about to fire off are me asking how it all works. So sure. I hope that's all right with our audience as well. So first thing, Oliver, would I be downloading, is it exclusively, well, I know the answer to this one, is it exclusively to WordPress? And do I install a WordPress plugin, or does this work slightly differently to traditional WordPress plugins?
So yeah, well, basically we started supporting like WordPress first. It makes sense because WordPress is almost ruling the world right now. So the thing is that you can actually install the firewall itself, or the firewall engine, and the scanning and the portal and everything works with any PHP application. So we have people having WordPress sites, Joomla sites, Magento sites, Drupal sites, even some really custom Laravel websites on our platform, and being protected with our firewall. But we do have a WordPress plugin, and this is made specifically so that it's very easy to install. It has hardening options that a lot of WordPress owners care about, and like for example, with WebARX, you can set 2-factor authentication for your WordPress site, and manage like the cookie agreement and policies and all these kind of things as well. So we kind of have put a bit more value to WordPress owners. But yeah, you end up installing a WordPress plugin which does the configurations for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does the WordPress plugin, is everything that your service provides within that plugin? Again, I think I know the answer to this. Or is that plugin like a wrapper, if you like, a shell for something which is going on elsewhere? Or is everything done inside of that plugin?
There's a cool thing I can say that, WebARX, it kind of, or WebARX, the ARX in the end stands in Latin as a citadel. So the whole point is that you kind of take a part of WebARX, put it into your website or a castle, how you call it, So this is like the main control center, but eventually WebARX plugin basically connects your website with WebARX portal or the, command center, let's say, or WebARX dashboard or portal. So basically, all it does is it runs the engine on your website and does the kind of processing there. But the thing is that after you install WebARX, then you will get like the cloud-based dashboard where you can even update your plugins, do all these kind of things remotely. So yeah, like most of the stuff is actually happening on the portal, but you use plugin to connect your website with WebARX.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I was imagining it would be like that because of the fact that you mentioned that it would work with just about anything that's written with PHP. So, okay, let's imagine that I've installed, I've signed up, I've got a WebARX account. There's the online portal aspect to it, and I've installed my WordPress plugin, and I've connected the two things. Presumably, there's some fields to fill out and some API integration to do. What is WebARX actually doing when I click go and hand it off and say, right, get on with it, WebARX, do your stuff. What is it doing in the background? Now, I realise this is probably a long topic, but feel free to go in at great length, because I think this is the bit where most people are going to be interested.
Yeah. So the thing is, when you kind of add your website to, let's say you sign up, you add your website to WebARX, the first thing is going to happen is that without any installation need to be done or configuration to be done on your website, we start to check everything about your website remotely. So what we do is we check if there is possibility to enumerate kind of software versions externally, which gives us a glimpse if attackers could do the same thing and then target like more targeted attacks against the site. And additionally, we check if your domain is being mentioned in blacklists. We check if it's mentioned in, this kind of, as we were talking earlier about these, defacement things, there's databases and websites where hackers are bragging about, I defaced that and, all these kind of hacktivism sort of things. Then we also check if your domain is being mentioned in some of those hacker communities like, Zone Age and,
Oh, that's so cool. So you go and scrape the hacker websites. That's great.
So yeah, we check if the domain is kind of mentioned in some, sketchy places, which would give you an idea. If, for example, we even did it for some pastebin entries. So in case the domain is kind of mentioned in some, Operation Anonymous target list and your website is in there for whatever reason, then you might know it before the attack actually happens.
Yes.
So it's a good thing to, kind of keep in mind and, get alerts on. And yeah, we also check if, your SSL is properly configured. If it's, one thing if it's enabled, but the other thing it's also if it's actually kind of forced, which a lot of people failure to do.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we check if, for example, your site connected to some, maybe you have like some Git library, and if there's actual leak of credential through some, public Git repositories and, all these things. And yeah, we check for plugin vulnerabilities. So we kind of fetch all the information about the plugins that are installed or like the components installed on your website. We don't kind of, do this kind of scanning that if, I will, try to attack this plugin with then like some sort of SQL injection exploitation method and see if it passes or not. But what we do is we just take all the software versions that are running on your site, starting from the core version to plugin versions to PHP versions to Apache versions and all that, and then basically compare it to all the data that we have, like from the whole internet, basically, if there is any vulnerability associated with this specific version of software, if there is any public exploit written for that kind of specific software, and then basically, depending on that, our API is sending virtual patches and firewall rules or additional firewall rules directly to your website automatically. So in this case, we don't really, kind of put too much of our rules on your website that they have to, kind of filter through, but you only have the relevant stuff. Plus, we also have like OWASP top 10 web application vulnerability, exploitation rules, which we, prevent from as a default. But yeah, from the external point of view, we check, also uptime, if the site is down or up, if, what kind of response it's given to the visitors. We check if there's, rogue JavaScript infected to the website, so we could detect if there's. We actually added this after a big incident here in Estonia, where this kind of thing happened, where ads were pulled from a network and the ads contained a crypto miner. So yeah, we also check for crypto mining scripts, and there's a lot of things actually.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna say, but you could maybe I'll give you a chance to have a slurp of water or take a breath, because that was very comprehensive. So it's phoning home, and or rather, you are finding out about what version of PHP we got, what version of Apache, what WordPress plugins we're using, and then aggregating that data and letting us know about potential vulnerabilities. And can we update plugins via WebARX as well? Is that an option to kind of use it as like a center for keeping our websites up to date, not just informed that they're out of date?
Yeah, actually, this though is like WordPress only feature, because we only have developed like a CMS plugin for WordPress, because it's the most popular one. But yes, you can actually see all the plugins that are turned on. You can turn them off from WebARX. You can update them. You can basically manage all the plugins, and you can even manage users. So yeah, you have kind of full access to, and you can even start. You can even change the plugin settings that are on your website through the portal. Great. So you kind of have the whole management eventually on a single dashboard where all your websites are kind of already.
Yeah. Really interesting. So I suppose the keen listeners at this point will be thinking, okay, that's great. It's provided all sorts of information about what my site has on it. And that's lovely. And then it's we've discovered that there's a couple of things that are out of date and what have you. But the key word I think that you threw in just once that needs to be explained is the word firewall. And perhaps nobody will out there listening will know that WebARX has this web application firewall, but that's what they use, and that I think needs some explaining on a fairly technical level. So what is a web application firewall, a WAF, and how does it actually protect us? Because that in itself is a bit of a mystery, I would imagine, to a lot of us.
So yeah, web application firewalls in general, there's like different categories which you can, put them. There's on-site firewalls that run directly on your, like on-premise basically. There's also hardware firewalls which are for networks, and in terms of web application firewall itself, there's on-site firewalls and there's like cloud-based firewalls. So like, for example, Cloudflare, you basically send your whole website traffic, or your DNS is, kind of connected to Cloudflare servers. So basically whole traffic that comes to your website comes through the WordPress or the CDN traffic. So, or the content delivery network. So, and the on-site firewall is running directly on your own website and without any traffic being kind of sent through any third party. So this is what we do. And yeah, basically what WebARX is capable of is that we filter all post-get server cookie. Basically, the whole thing is built around the whole HTTP protocol. So basically everything HTTP protocol consists, or all the variables, our firewall is capable of analyzing all that. So what we do is we basically check if there's known exploitation methods try to run through your website, or if sometimes even people try to kind of post something through your comment forums, or through or through forums in general, which includes some obfuscated code, or something very something that shouldn't be there. So WebARX also can intercept that. So everything runs before kind of WordPress, and we have kind of done a huge bunch of benchmarking to bring down the latency issues which I know some other WordPress security plugins have with putting too many rules in htaccess file, for example, and all these things. So with WebARX, with our firewall engine, is the thing that basically you won't get virtual patches or exploit specific rules unless you actually are affected. And then now, this makes sense because, we fetch the information about the plugins and all the software that is running on your site. So we understand if there's actually vulnerabilities or, vulnerabilities in there that need to be protected.
Yeah, so the sort of takeaway there for me, at least anyway, was that this is doing things, I think you said, before it touches WordPress. So in a typical setup, we might be sort of slightly reactive. We're analyzing things that have happened to stop them. This is trying to stop them before they happen. So before WordPress even does anything, the idea is that this web application firewall spots something on the way in, the sort of ingress, and stops it happening. I'm interested by that because I simply don't understand how it works. How do you technically do that? Are you sort of like inspecting packets and seeing what's inside the individual packets? Or I genuinely don't know how it works.
Yeah, so basically it's like we hook it to the whole PHP framework. Right. So everything that is going to be executed when PHP script is being executed runs through our addition, which is installed to the web application. Let's say it's WordPress, for example. And so the whole engine is actually it's the same engine that can run on any PHP application. So basically, the same engine that runs for WordPress sites runs also for Laravel sites or even vanilla PHP.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that the firewall engine is going to be part of your whole website.
I think this is one of those things which is going to be harder to explain than is worth the time. But needless to say, the approach is worth discussing. That it's doing things before they happen. What are some of the? I'm on the page at the moment. We've got webarxsecurity.com/product, which is actually the features page. And I'm looking, and it says security monitoring and alert. So if it spots something, will it automatically kill it before it happens, and then let you know that, we did something on your behalf?
So you basically have access to whole firewall logs directly on the WordPress WebARX plugin dashboard, and also on the WebARX portal, where you can see all statistics about all your websites that are on WebARX, and you can see like how many attacks have been blocked, in general over your all websites. And you can also see the details of the attacks that have been tried to, run against your websites. You can see it, you can see from which country it came from. You can see if they were blocked and if they actually got if something, very severe were tried to, pass through the website, then it will get IP block automatically. And we really, take care of proactively blocking these kind of threats, like malicious bots and plugin enumerations and things that are out of scope of a regular website usage.
Do you blacklist IPs on a permanent basis that then I have to go back in a whitelist, or do you just sort of lock them out for a period of time and then they kind of automatically?
So by default, I think, I don't actually even remember. I think it was by default it was that you will get the IP will get banned for 1 day or something, but you can customize all of that.
Okay.
So and
okay.
In terms of alerts, the security monitoring and all these like blacklistings, and we even check if the site has PHP errors on it, or like sometimes you update a theme and then you see that on the front page there's some fatal error or something. So all these kind of things can be set up as alerts to your email, or even integrated with the Slack.
Oh, yes, Slack. Very nice, yeah.
So basically, you can just connect WebARX with your /developers Slack channel, and all this like uptime issues, everything, like all this information can, just run into your Slack channel about every site that you have added to WebARX platform.
Yes, so, in an ideal world, we never hear from you ever. Because everything's fine, but you do uptime monitoring. It says I'll come back to the second one: defacement monitoring. There's blacklist monitoring, software vulnerability monitoring, and then it says it'll email you or send you via Slack, which I bet a lot of people are really happy about. What's the defacement monitoring? Are you sort of like scraping screenshots and comparing them and things like that, or?
It's kind of the same thing as the mentions. It's also like if we check your website and if we see that some like specific, for example, if we changed our scraping for user agent and see if there's content different, if a Google bot is visiting your site, or an actual visitor is visiting the site, then we can figure out if there's something tried to be cloaked, or if there's something that were tried to be hidden. But additionally, it's also going under the same thing that I mentioned before, that we check if the site is being listed in those defacement databases. Gotcha. And all these kind of places. So we kind of check we check directly from your website, and we also check from external sources. So we kind of bring external and internal sources together.
One of that kind of leads me very nicely actually into this next bit, because it kind of occurred to me that if you put the responsibility onto you, say WebARX, to look after my website and to keep itself up to date about current vulnerabilities and new things that are going on in this space, and new devious ways that bad people are trying to break your WordPress site. Where do you go? What kind of things do you as a company do to ensure that you are the most knowledgeable people about this? Because after all, at the end of the day, that's what this boils down to, is knowledge. If you have knowledge before the rest of us do, then there's value in that. But if you don't keep ahead of us with that knowledge, then there isn't. So where do you find yourself going, and what's the company policy for kind of keeping up to date with threat intelligence?
So, for example, like in our team, there's something we call Research Friday, which we often do, is that we kind of have to keep ourselves up to date everything all the time as well. What is happening externally in terms of web application security in general and so forth. But like our team members are, learning new things all the time. We have like, for example, Luca, who is our main security researcher. He's, actively doing certificates for himself as well to, get better in penetration testing and doing like offensive side of that, and, actually looking into popular plugins that are installed, around our kind of customer portfolio as well, and see if there's, any threats. Maybe you also heard, I think it was in December, where we discovered a SQL injection vulnerability on a login press plugin. Which
I spotted that. Yes, I did spot that piece of news.
Yeah. So we actively look that kind of things and automate kind of detection methods to find such kind of vulnerabilities on very popular components. But additionally, I already kind of mentioned you before, but we are going to release a bug bounty platform probably in upcoming months, where we already have over 700 researchers waiting for, where basically we have all WordPress, all CMS plugins listed, and researchers can start to kind of freelance on the platform and find vulnerabilities, or actually just kind of look at the code and become like a kind of guardians for the web and see if there's high risk vulnerabilities on extensions and plugins that are installed to a lot of websites, like 100,000 installations and all that kind of stuff. So as soon as we put this live, we are really giving our effort back into the community itself as well, and very proactively kind of trying to find issues before the bad guys do, and kind of make developers know about it, and meanwhile build the most up-to-date firewall system on the web, on this kind of field ever been. So
I think that's really cool. I mean, the kind of like the bug bounty initiative to me strikes me as the best model that we have yet for keeping people from like going to the dark side, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If there's a financial reward, and in some cases, some of these bug bounties for example, Microsoft and Google for their Chrome browser and what have you, the financial rewards for finding something horrific, which allows you to leverage something even more horrific for things like Chrome and Windows is you can really get a lot of money if you're a very good hacker. But the trade-off is that you demonstrate to Microsoft a big problem. They pay you for it, and then they fix it for the rest of us. And that, I'm really pleased that you said that, because I think that's without doubt the best way to go about doing it.
And as I said, we focus a lot on web application security in general, but nowadays, last year compared to 2017, there's 3 times more vulnerabilities on WordPress plugins.
Yep.
So this just shows the issue, and meanwhile WordPress is getting more popular and popular, and component security is becoming a very big issue. So for us, making it's actually called plugbounty.com, which is kind of plug for plugins. So giving researchers a place where all different open source plugins and extensions and themes and everything is listed in a way that is shown how much impact it gives for the whole web, because there's JavaScript libraries that are installed to tens of thousands or like millions of websites, and if you can just find one vulnerability there, which you find before the bad guy, imagine how big of a difference you will make.
Yeah, and the thing is, the internet is so big. Even like a 2-day window, if you've got a 2-day window, could be millions of pounds. It's amazing.
It's not even 2 days. If you remember what happened with Drupalgeddon, if you know.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, I was actually a part of the first one. Yeah.
I think it was like 4 hours after the update. So Drupal even, before they pushed.
Yes, they kept saying, we're going to push this update, please update, please update.
So,
and then it happened, and everybody's like, yeah, I remember it well. And then they had Drupalgeddon 2 last year, I think it was, or the year before that. We should probably move on to the cost of the platform itself, because it's a business. You need to generate revenue to keep it going. So at the moment, I've gone to webarxsecurity.com/pricing, and you've got 3 tiers that I can see here. I don't know if you do a free tier like some of the other platforms do, but there's one called Essential, which is $4.99 a month. There's one called Pro, $14.99 a month, and then there's a custom price, an enterprise one, where you need to get in touch with you guys. What's the benefit of the Pro over the Essential, and do you have a free version to test before you jump on with the Essential pricing?
We do have 14 days trial, which is actually a pro plan. So you will have 14 days to just try out the whole thing. Get in touch with us. Just write to our chat, and we help you even set up everything and all that.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because I think that's the right kind of way to price this.
support for us is very important. So what we do is we always, you can write to our support and you can, easily talk to our CTO, for example, or even me. So, we are all really committed into that, and we are very kind of, customer focused in terms of, talking to you guys and, making sure that you understand properly that, there's no security solution on the market that, you can use, and, it will take your kind of mind away from security completely, because that would be the very wrong thing to do. Yeah, and the pro plan, it includes even reports. For example, you can basically, for example, if you have customers, you have like 15 sites added to WebARX, then you can you can generate a PDF report that you can go to your customer and show, hey, that's how many attacks we were blocking on your website for 1 week, and here's all the things that are passed, and all the things with green check marks that are all good on your website, and everything is up to date, and there's here's the list of outdated software, and all these things. You can just show the value to your customer that there are actually people who try to attack your website, and there are things that we keep updated, and we kind of keep well on the website.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, I was just going to say, I think from a client's point of view, that is a very powerful message, because to somebody who's unfamiliar using WordPress, who knows that they've got a website, they know it's built on WordPress, but they're terrified to do anything apart from write posts and click publish. If you can demonstratively show, look, we've blocked 3,500 attacks this month, or it has been blocked, and we have updated all of these plugins on your behalf. I think that's really powerful, because it allows them to rest easy. This is a money thing for them. Their website might be generating thousands of dollars a day, and the fact that it's up and demonstratively up, and you can prove that you've not just been sitting there doing nothing, things have been happening whilst they've been asleep. That's great. I also wanted to mention that I like the fact that there is no free tier. The 14-day, but I've always found it interesting, the idea of a free version, a hobbled version, where lots and lots and lots has been stripped out in order to try to sort of get them in. So I like the fact that you pay from the outset. That makes it. I don't know.
There's the saying that usually things cost because they're good.
Yes, quite. So. Yeah. I'm going to read through the list, because I think that's important. So on the $4.99, you get security site scans. You get the web application firewall, malware attack and protection. You can manage multiple domains. It says add or remove websites flexibly. Domain reputation monitoring. Two-factor authentication. So you log in with something which you own, something which you have, not what you like a password, an additional password, and cookie consent. And then if you go up to the $10 extra a month, so $14.99, you get all of those features. Plus you get security reports, blacklist notifications, downtime monitoring, very important, chat customer service, and remote software updates. And then if you go onto the custom pricing, there's a whole load more, which you can look for yourself at /pricing. Thank you so much, Oliver, for coming on and talking to us about WebARX. Before we go, I always like to offer the person a chance to tell us where they're at, what their Twitter handle is. If you want to let them know your email and all of that kind of stuff, you can. But over to you for as long as you want.
Okay, I guess my Twitter handle is Oliver Sild. I guess you can see it from some picture which is associated with the podcast, how my name is written. But yeah, you can also follow us on Twitter. Is WebARX _security. We have a Facebook community group actually where you can join. Just hit join, and we can, there's I think there's a bunch of people already who are using WebARX. So in case you're just trying to get some, feedback from our current customers, you can directly talk to them there as well. And yeah, I can also offer all of you, if you want to use a promotion code WPBUILDS, which will give you 50% discount on any plan that you wish to try for 12 months.
Oh, that's very nice. So what was that? WPBUILDS, all uppercase, shall we say?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. How kind of you. That's really, really kind. Very, very nice indeed. So 50% off any of those licenses for your first year, which makes the the essential plan almost free, not quite, but very, very cheap indeed. That's great. Actually, it's funny. I noticed as I was looking around on your website, on your homepage, you've got the everybody does, don't they? You've got some testimonials, and two of the first three that I noticed are members of our WP Builds Facebook group. So that's nice to see.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's lovely. I saw both the names and thought, ooh, look, I know them. So that's great. Thank you for coming on. Like Oliver said, if you want to use the offer code WP Builds, all capitals, no spaces, and get yourself a very heavily 50% discounted first year, go for it. Oliver, appreciate you very much coming on the podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling me. And if anyone wants to, talk about security, or, everyone is really free to, just get in touch with me. You can use the chat bubble on our website and just say, hey, I want to talk to Oliver. And, I will get back to you.
Oh, that's very kind. Right. Thank you very much. See you soon.
See you.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, finding out all about internet security. Do remember that if you have enjoyed that and you have thought to yourself, well, I could make use of WebARX, we have a coupon code giving you 50% off the first year of any plan. That coupon code is WPBUILDS, all capital letters, and there's no spaces. So yeah, why not go and use that and grab 50% off the plan for the first year? Certainly worth looking at. Today's episode of the WP Builds podcast is sponsored by Project Huddle. Are you still using email for client feedback? Well, there's a better way. With Project Huddle, client feedback has never been easier. Point, click, and type interactive comments right on top of any website. Delegate, manage, and resolve issues with your team. Get quick, clear approvals from your clients. White label it and look like a pro. For 20% off, visit projecthuddle.io/WPBuilds. Sincere thanks to any and all of our sponsors. They really do keep the lights on over at WP Builds. Okay, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Please join us again on Monday when we bring out the WordPress Weekly News. It's only about 15 minutes. Stick it on your podcast app on your phone and it will automatically be downloaded for you. If we don't see you on Monday, I'll see you next Thursday for the regular podcast, and I shall fade in some awful cheesy music as I always do. Bye-bye for now.